Morning, fish keepers. Cam here from thefishroom.co.nz, and congratulations, we have made it through to another Friday. Let's all be happy. Let's have some coffee. It's good coffee. First and foremost, I just want to apologise for last week. Last week's live stream clearly wasn't that fantastic, and now I know that I was suffering from COVID. I'm not quite sure why it didn't go through my mind at the time that I was being absolutely hammered by that, but I clearly was, so apologies for last week's live stream being very average at best. That is pretty much all I've got as far as admin goes. We are going to be joined today by a very special guest. So let's please introduce Blake from Blake's Aquatics. There you go.
Hello. Good morning.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, fingers crossed John will come and join us partway through the stream. He's just being held up with some family stuff at the moment, so fingers crossed we get him on board as well.
No worries.
Rightio. So I've prepared a whole bunch of questions that I'd like to ask you, so let's fire away with the first one. Basically, the first question we always ask anyone we have a guest is, what got you interested in fish keeping, and where did your journey begin?
Yeah, definitely on YouTube. Funnily enough, I've always just watched YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathy, thank you. Yeah, so I was watching Aquarium Co-op and Kiev DIY and all of these channels for like 5 years before I ever got a fish tank, at least in my adult life, which set me up really well, to be honest. But yeah, I had no idea. The first time I saw like Corey's cinder block fish room in his garage, I thought, who does this? Who has that many fish tanks? And now I do. So I guess that's how it happens. But yeah, no, I was always fascinated. But at the time, I was at uni and we were living in small sort of apartments and moving all the time. So yeah, it took a while for me to get the first tank. But then within a week, I had 2 tanks. Within 2 weeks, I had 3 or 4 tanks. So it went fast from there.
Yeah, very good. So in your YouTube bio, you call yourself a fish hoarder. What exactly is a fish hoarder?
That's just kind of my language, but I guess I would define a fish hoarder as someone who finds it quite easy to collect fish, but quite difficult to get rid of them after. Like even sometimes, I know in my head, like, I'm just putting food in this tank every day. I'm not really looking in there, but I still can't get rid of them. I'm still attached.
Yeah.
Yeah. At extreme cases, if I really want something new and it's not compatible, then that's what it will take. But yeah, I really find it difficult moving species on sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure there is plenty of people that can sort of feel. I've lost the word. Sorry, my head's still a little bit foggy. I'm sure there's plenty of people that very much feel the same way as you as far as hoarding fish. And I must have this one, but I can't make this one work, so I make something else work together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and for me, I often do species only just because I'm trying to breed most things that I keep. So, yeah, once I start to notice, okay, that tank's now got 3 or 4 species in it. Like, yeah, this isn't really working for anyone. So,
yeah, fair enough. Very good. You're clearly in love with the hobby. What is it about the fish keeping that you love so much?
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. I think, like with other pets, you can't really breed them and you can't really watch generations grow up in front of your eyes. Whereas guppies, like within a couple of years, I'm not even a massive guppy person, but just using it for an example, with guppies, like within 2-3 years, you could have watched 6 generations, 7 generations kind of grow up in front of you, and all the different sort of morphs and the way things go, especially with shrimp as well. I found that like I started off with some really sort of undesirable wild type cherries, and then within a couple of years, I had them like really nice deep black and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. As well as that, I mean, obviously, I like the planted side of things as well. So, yeah, I'm never good at growing things above the ground, but for some reason underwater I can. So, yeah, I think there's lots of reasons. Yeah, but yeah, those are the main ones.
We don't have shrimp over here.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that aren't allowed in the country. I'm sure there's plenty that you guys aren't allowed as well. So you obviously keep a few shrimp.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I keep them to my to my left. I have a rack along the top there, and that's where I keep all my shrimp. So they're all in one place. So I've got black, blue. What is that? Another sort of wild type one. Red, crystal red, yellow, snow white, and crystal black.
Cool.
Yeah, so I keep quite a few shrimp.
So that was about 7 or 8 different.
Yeah.
Varieties?
Oh, and I have blue bolts inside. So yeah.
Okay. So how many different sorts of shrimp are there sort of available to you at any one time, or sort of hanging around in the hobby over there?
Yeah, there's quite a few actually. I guess Tasmania, Northern Territory, and Western Australia also can't keep shrimp like you.
Okay.
So
Yep.
even with sort of half the country wiped out, there's quite a few good shrimp breeders in South Australia actually, and you can get like tiger shrimp, orange-eye blue tigers, heaps of caradinas. But yeah, the list kind of goes on really.
Yeah.
Green jades. Yeah, we could be here all morning.
So is it quite common between state to state to be allowed certain things and not other things? Like New Zealand's a basically blanket wide rule. You just can't have it no matter what. So
Yeah.
there's different territories have different legislation. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. So I live in Victoria. We neighbour New South Wales, and they're allowed koi. We're not allowed koi
Right.
for some reason. Queensland recently banned a lot of the American cichlids, like jaguars, just because they got into the waterway. I imagine Western Australia will soon ban the horseface or the geophagus as well, because they're destroying one of their famous river systems over there as well. So yeah, but state by state has definitely different rules. I'm envious of Queensland, and I think actually every other state except Victoria are allowed Elakeri, the tiger bashirs. That Rachel O'Leary had those 3 in a tank, very envious of that. One day I tried to apply for a license, but they just haven't got back to me yet.
So you are potentially allowed to, as long as you go through the right systems, basically, give them the right amount of money.
Yeah, you gotta. It's not even a cost thing. It's you just have to demonstrate a reason to keep them. Like my reason was obviously educational, or I thought it would be a good idea. I could talk about the different rules and regs and why I'm allowed to put it on the internet that I have these, and other people in Victoria potentially can't. So from all reports they're pretty reasonable, but I just haven't heard back from them yet.
That's really interesting. Again, basically here, if it's a no-go, it's generally speaking a no-go, other than maybe on some sort of commercial grounds, but general hobbyists, it's actually not here, and that's pretty much the end of it.
Yeah. So I can't help myself but address the chat. Hello.
All right. So do you have any certain kind of fish that does it for you more than others, or will you pretty much just keep anything that you can?
Yeah, I guess the one that's sort of taken over the place at the moment are celestial pearl danios. I was, first of all, I was inspired by another hobbyist that I talked to a bit. His name is Michael, and he was doing, he sort of modified a tank, chopped it in half and then put a platform so that the eggs would fall through a divider into the back half of the tank. And then from that, I 3D print stuff as well. So I came up with this box idea, and then put an elbow in there, and it connects up to a hang-on breeder box. And I've started printing a heap of those and sending them everywhere. And I've now got sort of 2 colonies that are getting eggs every single day, and 5 or 6 grow out tanks. So everyone always seems to want them, whether that's the breeding contraption or the actual fry. So I never have trouble getting rid of them. So I always make more of them.
Yeah, for sure. CPDs are another one of the things that they are here. They are very, very scarce here, and they're not allowed to be bought in again. I was on the hunt for some. I still am on the hunt for some. I managed to track down a couple of females, but I couldn't find a male. So from all accounts, there's only a very small handful of people that actually have them over here. So
Yeah, wow.
I know there's plenty of people that are watching that are all about, oh, if we can get our hands on CPDs as well, that'd be amazing, because again, they're very cool little fish.
They are. I've tried to branch out a little bit. So the bench behind me, that's where I got all of my sort of little cyprinids, and I've got Kubatai Rasboros back there, Chopro Danios, Emerald Rasboros, and five-banded barbs as well, but
Nice.
I haven't tried those with my contraption yet to know if that works.
Yeah, some really nice little Danios and Rasboros hanging around, like some of the small and nano ones. They've got some incredibly striking patterns and little colour marks on them that you sort of don't really pick up on often when they're in the shop. It's till they get home and get settled in, and you go, wow, they are phenomenal looking fish.
Yeah, and I find that the fine detail in the differences really makes quite like Chopro Danios. I mean, a lot of people just sort of say, oh well, why would you get that instead of just like a glow light tetra or something, which is kind of so neon orange sort of color, but it's not like that at all. Like it's I don't know how to explain it, but there's all sorts of different shades and colors. Yeah,
absolutely chalk and cheese between one fish to another, despite having a very similar name.
Yeah. So I'm liking all of that, and from all reports, a lot of people are having a lot of success with those things. Different fish, Danios, all over the place. So a lot of people are using them for like leopard Danios and stuff like that. But,
nice. Yeah.
For me, CPDs.
Yeah. So you said you're pretty much getting a spawn each day at the moment, the way they are. Yeah. How many eggs are you getting, or how many viable fry are you getting out of each spawn?
Yeah, so with the hang-on breeder box method that I'm using, so all I have to do is turn a little airline tap, and then I just see eggs shoot out the outflow. Like it's crazy. It's like having eggs on tap, really, because so I just kind of turn the air on for maybe a minute. I used to leave it on all the time, but it's a bit noisy. So about a minute or so, and then I don't know, 30, 40 eggs might come out, and then I mean, I could have a lot more sort of viable fry, but I've never run out. So I don't really bother with. I could like clean the box out a lot more. I could definitely suck out some of the like snail offshoots and all that. But all I do is just sort of go for a week or two collecting the eggs, and then fry hatch out, and then I start to notice some of the fry are a bit larger, and I think that they could maybe eat the eggs. So then I just put them in a. You have Kmart over there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, put them in a Kmart 20-liter starter tank, and then that's
good little bang for buck, those tanks.
Yeah,
really
so that's why I've got probably about 6 of those going full of fry, and then maybe every 2 months I do a consolidation where I get all of the biggest fry, start having one tank with the biggest, and then go like that. Which I know some people might say, well, aren't you going to get all of the females in the biggest one? But not really, because they're different ages, So, and then I sell out of that one first, and then go out. Do that.
Sounds like you got yourself a nice little production line going on.
Yeah, it's cool. When I moved into this house kind of recently, I guess November last year, and there was a brief hiatus where I just had no eggs from anything for a while. That was pretty scary. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing, touch wood.
Are the CPDs fairly common over there, or they're a little bit on the scarcer side as well?
When I got my original ones, which was before COVID, so when was that? 2020? They were very scarce. I picked them up the very first time I saw them in person. So now they're a lot more common, I guess, as people. There's quite a few breeders that are churning out a lot of quantity. I've seen the price sort of go from $25, $30 each down to, well, I sell them now for $17 each, and $15 each is not uncommon on Gumtree or something like that.
Yeah. Do you think that price is just going to continue to drop and drop and drop the more people that have got them and the more common they become?
I hope so. I mean, it kind of sounds counterintuitive because, you'd think, oh, wouldn't you want them to be the highest as possible, but not really. I just think they're cool fish. I don't mind if the price goes down to 50 cents each if everybody gets to have a go at keeping these awesome fish.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
where you stand in a hobby scope, like you want to see everybody with them because they need fish, and it doesn't matter what they're being charged for, as long as everyone's having the ability to enjoy them, or you're trying to hold the supply and make as much money as you can. Depends on where you're kind of sitting, and there's no right or wrong answer to that either.
Yeah, for me, if it gets to the stage where it's not worth sort of the food that I'm putting out, I'll just breed something else, and we'll start again.
Yeah, makes sense. So we just had Kathy ask if you are able to send your egg traps to New Zealand.
Yeah, for sure. I've sent them all over the place. I think yesterday I sent 2 to Norway. I've sent a bunch of them to the States. I'll send them. I'll send them wherever people want them. So mainly the best way people do is in the links of all my videos. I have my Etsy shop, and I do other things as well, like caves and all that. I print. The other popular one is it's like a hanger. What you put pothos in, or devil's eye. So it's fun. I want my printing to sort of keep going as well, because I can eventually buy more printers too. I've got 2 at the moment, but I really need sort of just to think about a third. So yeah.
How long does it take to print one of them off?
That's 17 hours.
17 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
That's not what I'm going to say.
I mean, yeah, it's annoying when you get a failure, for sure. You get home and there's plastic spaghetti everywhere. But but for the most part, I just sort of press go when I leave for work and come home and take it off.
Halfway through.
Yeah.
Brian has also would like to know, how long until you get to 18,000 subscribers?
I don't know, Brian. That's a good question. I was going to try to sneakily have a look. At any given time, I don't really know where I'm up to. Which is okay. So I'm 17,919, and I get about 700 a month. So maybe next week, I guess. Maybe less than a week. So that's exciting. But yeah, I think it's key. Like early days, I used to watch the sub count and all that, and get really invested. But I find that it's kind of like when you're waiting for something, like if you're waiting for the pot to boil, or you're waiting for something to happen and it never happens, staring at the calendar waiting for Christmas. I find that the more you sort of go hands off, the more things just naturally happen. And even now, like in my Discord group, I was having a bit of not a rant, but I was getting a bit upset the other day because I put a lot of particular energy into a certain video that absolutely took a dive, and I was like, oh no, I thought it seems like the more energy you put in, sometimes the worse things go. But anyway, it's always a learning experience.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that actually segues us really, really nicely into the next question we have. So obviously your YouTube channel, Blake's Aquatics, has grown into quite the fish keeping hub in the last sort of 3 years or so you've been doing it.
Yeah.
How did you get started on the platform, and what made you decide to share basically your fish keeping journey online?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I didn't expect anyone to watch. I still kind of don't, but it does surprise me. But I was just doing it like a bit of a video diary for myself. I sort of mentioned I was getting so many tanks and trying out so many different fish, having so many little wins. Like, I think actually what the major catalyst was when I bred bronze corridors, because to me that was like the first egg scatterer. I guess they don't really scatter though. What are they called?
Yeah.
Adhesive egg on the glass fish. Anyway, I bred those. And I couldn't believe it. So I took a video of it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to keep all these videos on my phone. So I chucked them on YouTube, and then I just started talking a little bit, and then I just started sort of working on making sure that things were a bit more easy to see, like got some lights, and started to figure out how to edit and stuff like that. But really what it was just a video. I think I even called it this, a video diary for myself, where I was just sort of keeping an eye on the growth and I knew that one day I'd want to look back and say, what did that fish look like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
And and then I still remember the first subscriber I got was Crystal's Pets, and I don't know how she found me. It was a good effort because I didn't really title anything
Right.
or use tags or anything like that, but she found me, and then I mean, yeah, after a year I had a whopping 78 subscribers, which was just I actually thought I was pretty cool then. I thought I was pretty famous. But
78 people watching your videos.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
77 more than I thought.
Yeah.
But after that, I sort of got more involved with things like this, live streams, and the sort of community, and things took off from there. So yeah.
Nice one. Cool. Do you have the full backing of your partner and your family and stuff like that, or is it a bit of a he's off doing that again type of scenario?
No, she's really good. She's really supportive of that. Even like she's talking about she's quite into gardening and veggies and all that, and she wants to start her own channel. I said, well, luckily someone's been buying equipment for the last 2 years and been teaching himself how to edit, so we might end up doing that. But her rule is just all the tags out of the house, which I still have one tag in the house, which she doesn't like at all. But
really,
she tolerates it. Yeah.
I've got a very similar wife that does the same thing, and I'm only allowed one. She doesn't openly say that she doesn't like it, but she doesn't say it's her favorite thing that I've had. So we'll put it that way. But if I can set it up correctly for her, correctly, and makes her happy, then it's okay. So.
Yeah.
I do understand the theory of not having them in the house.
Yeah, it's a fair enough trade-off, considering that she has to park the car in the driveway every single day. So,
yeah, cool. So we've had Sasha ask, do you know much about River Revolution? Which also segues me quite nicely into another question that I have. How did you get? For those that don't know, you've got a bunch of photos of yours on the River Revolution product bottles. How did you get them on there? How did that come about?
Yeah. So I got a few here. Yeah, here's an example. The GH conditioner. That's my Rotala Macrandra. I think that one is. So the way that came about is I live very close to Sam Parker from Parker's Reef. And he worked with Reef Revolution a couple of times over the journey, I think. Yeah, and then Nathan, who does Reef and River Revolution, was on the lookout for sort of a freshwater side of things, and needed some photos. And originally, it was going to be that Sam was going to come to my place and take photos of my stuff, and then pass it on. And I was like, yeah, whatever, come over. Hopefully, I'll snatch you for a video while you do, but. In the end, I just said, I've got some cameras that are capable of doing stuff like that. Why don't I just have a go at it? And I did. And then he said, yeah, that's good. Let's print it. So, I've used a lot of the Reef Revolution stuff before. Like I quite like the Pro Bio Blast, which is like their sort of bacteria in a bottle, if you will, which I keep in the fridge. And I find that it's really good. Like I don't know. I'm actually planning a test where I test a bunch of bacteria in a bottle and sort of live substrates and stuff like that. But it just takes a while to sort of get these things up and running. But yeah, so from that, he sent me the whole line of River Revolution stuff to try out, and I keep asking him for more of this and more of that. But I think I've got some more amino acid, micro and macro on the way right now. So we'll see. Yeah.
So it's obviously a product that you're continuing to use then. Do you use the full range, or you sort of cherry pick some of the products, or do you find some work better in some situations than others, or how are you finding the actual product itself?
Yeah, for me, those are the big three that I continue to use. I mean, just because I had it, I used all of the other stuff, but my water here is pretty stripped of anything. Out of the tap, the pH is 6.8, but it will drop because it has 0 KH and 0 GH. Wow. So it's like, basically as good as you'll get for like RO water or whatever.
Yeah.
So just an all-in-one usually has done the job for me. I don't usually have to like dial out phosphorus or bring anything else out. I don't usually have to do that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So are you using it in all of your planted tanks, or some you're sort of leaving alone, or yeah?
Just go through. Usually it's immediately after a water change. So for example, last night I did all the water changes, and then I mix the 3 into a different bottle, and I just have a pump head. I don't really like measure that specifically.
No maths, just pour it all in and squirt it out.
He probably hates that I say this, but yeah, I just pour it into a thing with a pump head, and then I'm just like, oh, you're a big tank, you get 3 pumps, and you're a small tank, you get 1 pump. That's all I do.
Awesome. Yes, Sasha and I were talking about that, I think it was last week, whether or not they could be combined and then sort of dosed out in one go. So I'm sure that she'll be happy to hear that is a possibility.
Yeah, I do.
Thinks about trying them a lot. So
yeah. When you mix in the amino, it does stink a bit, but I feel like that makes it good.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like it should stink a bit.
So where would you put the River Revolution range comparatively to other fertilizer range? Is it quite a high quality product, does exactly what it's meant to do, or you find it lacks a little bit, or is it, it is what it is and it does what it does?
It's definitely better than sort of like the more generic ones. I'll probably absolutely kill my chances of ever. It's okay because it's true anyway. Like for example, I've tried like Leaf Zone from API. For me, it's just like a bottle of water. It didn't really do anything. I've got a full bottle of Seachem Flourish there, which is still a full bottle. From all reports, it's pretty good, but it's just kind of last in the line of things that I choose to use. The other main one that I use is from Liverpool Creek Aquarium, which is an Australian thing, I think. I don't know. Do you have that over there?
I don't think we have it over here, but I do know the brand and the range that you're talking about because I have looked at it before myself. But I don't think it's readily available over here at the moment.
So they used to do a lot of, it's good stuff, and like it does come in an all-in-one and an all-in-one shrimp safe, which is good. Yeah. But a couple of years ago, they used to do like every Friday they used to do auctions. So they'd auction, plant packs or fertilizers and all that. And they had them packed one day with like five packets of dry fertilizer that you could mix into a liter. So basically 5 liters of fertilizer. And nobody bid on it. So I got it like dirt cheap. And I've just been working my way through that forever. So yeah. But for me, I just use kind of whatever I have on hand, really.
Okay, cool. Good. Okay, so back to YouTube again. Obviously, creating the videos take time, and so does running your fish room, I'm assuming. How do you find time to do both of them, and is it sort of hard doing them both at the same time, or do you find that relatively easy?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I also work full time as well. So at the moment, my hours are like 6:30, and I get home about 5 p.m. And then usually, I spend the first hour just throwing the kids around, sort of saying hello to them. We eat dinner pretty early here, so then that usually sort of segues straight into dinner. And then again, with my supportive partner, she sort of handles a lot of the after dinner stuff, the showers and all that. So that's handy. But yeah, it's probably not ideal. I'll probably live to regret it in a few decades time when my kids are grown ups. But yeah, I just spend a lot of the sort of after dinner time in here. But I don't do maintenance and film. I just don't have enough time. Even a lot of times I'll film one day, edit another day, and then do maintenance the third day.
Right. Yeah.
But there's always duckweed to scoop.
Isn't that the way?
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll scoop it into a bucket and then forget about that bucket until one day I accidentally kick it or something like that, and that is a bad time.
Yeah, no, not a good time at all. Uh, what have you got going on in your fish room at the moment? Is there any sort of upcoming projects you're working on, or other than obviously the breeding the CPDs, is there anything that's sort of taking your fancy at the moment? Something you're really enjoying watching
Yeah,
progress or anything like that?
yeah, for sure. Well, like I mentioned, I'm trying to find about 6 or 7 of those Kmart tanks to empty out so that I can set up a few more experiments. The whole reason I built this bench at this height was so that I could do a lot of side by side experiments. And I haven't done any of those yet, so it's probably time I should start. Other than that, I've got a colony of 7 African butterfly fish, and I really want to breed them. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're good. They're growing up, so they'll probably be ready now. I was thinking about that last night, actually, trying to sort of do some rain event simulations or something like that.
Yeah, nice one. Cool.
The other thing that I've been looking at a lot lately is I got some freshwater crabs, some Darwin freshwater crabs, and they're so cool, but also creepy. But I love them so much.
Yeah. So, again, that's nicely segue into another question I had coming up. Is there anything in particular that you've got at the moment that's really taking your attention, or really grabbing your time or your energy at the moment?
Yeah, definitely the crabs. They're so cool. I don't know, and it's because you have to sort of hunt to find them. That's why it's kind of like it's kind of like a bit of an activity. But yeah, that's the main ones. I've got some Peruvian ultims as well that they've bred sort of like every 2 weeks, 3 or 4 times now. But I'm just trying to like see how many times until they stop eating the eggs.
Just let them naturally find their own way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the easiest and the best way to get some larger spawns in the long term. So I'm hoping about now's the time that they figure it out, though.
Yeah. Can you buy your native fish in pet shops and stuff like that, or is it you have to catch them type of scenario?
A lot of times it's illegal to catch them. I think there's kind of like a overarching rule that you are not allowed to transport live fish from waterway to waterway unless you have a certain collection license. But yeah, you can buy quite a lot of natives, like a lot of the gudgeons, empire gudgeons, firetail gudgeons, purple spot gudgeons, and even the occasional snakehead gudgeon, which are big boys. Rainbows, heaps of rainbows available, like eastern rainbows. Rads, you can occasionally find rads, which are pretty cool. Yeah, there's quite a few available. Yabbies as well, like the crayfish. Yeah, it's quite a good little range. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I've been to NZ a couple of times, I think 3 or 4 times, and but never when I was in the hobby. So I should have had a look at a fish shop when I was over there to know the difference. But I'm sure it'd be 80% the same things.
Yeah. Obviously, I run a store, so this question is completely biased because I want to know. What is the local fish shop scene like over there? Is there a few of them around, or is it a bit of a dying out, or how big shops taking over, or how's that kind of going over there?
Well, I think COVID kind of helped everyone, really. A lot of the upper echelon ones, at least. Like if there was certain shops that were able to adapt to, shipping within a local area, like even a sort of Uber delivery kind of model, or having an online option for dry goods, that sort of helped a lot. Here where I am in Geelong, which is about sort of an hour away from Melbourne, there's only really one store outside of the box stores, like Pet Barn, Pet Stock, Pet, whatever they're called. But there's one main store, but they specialize in African cichlids mainly, which is usually my go. So I tend to drive to Melbourne and make a whole day of it, maybe film like 3 or 4 different tours and all that sort of stuff. But up there, it's quite a good scene. Like, heaps of plants and nano fish and all sorts of stuff if you go to the right stores. But that could be like a 2 or 3 hour drive. So
yeah. What about local hobbyist groups and clubs and stuff like that? Is that a strong scene, or is it dying off as well?
For a long time, as long as I've known, we've had 4 main clubs in Victoria, we've got Agfa Vic, which is Australian New Guinea Fishers Association. They do a lot of the native stuff, and they have good auctions too for like honey blue eyes and stuff. And we've had VCS, Victorian Cichlid Society. We've got EDAS, Eastern District Aquarium Society, and we've got ASOV, Aquarium Society of Victoria. But just last week, I think EDAS decided that they were folding. They had sort of 11 of their key founding members pass away. So it's definitely and I think their attendance rate was like in the teens lately. So I think I don't know. It's interesting because I talk to a lot of people, and myself, I've been a member of EDAS, but I it's so far away I never go. So I was talking to a lot of people. I was like, "Oh, EDAS folding," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I should have gone and went to it." Like, yeah, me too. Everyone was like, keeping one eye on it, but just never turning up. So maybe if we did, they'd still be around.
Brian's asked us another week question. So there are some small rainbow fish up in Queensland Way that are not in the hobby. Are they able to be collected in the wild?
I wonder which ones they are. I know there was a recent.
Excuse me.
I know there was a recent sort of re-description of one species into two. That was the I can't remember off the top of my head, but in Queensland, I think you're allowed to collect. But I'm not really familiar with their rules.
Yeah.
I'm sure exporting them would be difficult anyway. And I'm not sure how they'd go even being transported cross-border. So maybe that's what it is. You can only sort of locally keep. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'd be guessing.
Has there ever been any fish that you've purchased and brought into your fish room that you've instantly gone, "Oh no, what have I done? I shouldn't have done that"?
Yeah, I had gold gouramis for one day.
One day.
Yeah. It might not have even been a full 24 hours.
Wow.
But they were just... I had quite a nice angelfish aquarium with platies and stuff. And I got 2 gold gouramis, and they were just... From inside the bag, they were just kind of like getting really aggressive. And I was just like, I'm not having this in my life. So, yeah, I tried them out of the bag for a while, and they just sort of terrorized everything into the corner. So I scooped them back up. And at the time, I was actually, I don't know why. I think I just had a bit of fun with it. I was cycling everywhere, so I cycled them back to the fish shop.
We've just had a question regarding pea puffers and why are they so expensive in Australia?
Yeah, Ben's absolutely nailed it. By the way, hello Ben. He's my channel sponsor, Aquarium Universe. Check it out. Pea puffers, illegal to import. So, in theory, although they were never here, one day they mysteriously appeared inside our borders, and now what is here should be domestically bred here. But somebody's had an uncomfortable flight, I think, and brought them over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of them hanging around?
Yeah. In my time, I originally got 4. Like when they first jumped on the scene, I thought bucket list. Like I have to get 4, and then as soon as one of them hit maturity, which was about 2 years later, just wiped the other 3 out. Wow. Yeah. As quickly as that as well. And then Tony at the Australian Pea Puffer Farm, which they're breeding a lot of pea puffers now. She sent me 2 more juveniles. I grew them up separately, and then when they were about the same size, I put them in. Everything was fine for 2-3 weeks, and then wiped it out again. So
wow,
yeah. Wow. So I've got one very, very costly pea puffer.
So they are being domestically bred over there now.
Yeah. I know that there was a little bit of an issue, like over summer, where none of them were getting eggs, but I think there might just be maybe some seasonality to their breeding. It sounds like they're fired up again now. So
yeah, nice. Just the one person spawning them, or is there a few
no,
people
there's
doing
a couple.
Or...
Yeah. There's probably the one that most people are familiar with, the farm, though, because they market themselves as a farm. But good people anyway. Yeah.
So when they're claimed to be so expensive, how much are you looking at for one fish?
If you find them under $200 each, that's a pretty good effort. Yeah.
Wow, that is not cheap.
Yeah.
And I can see how you've got one very, very expensive pea puffer.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I thought that there would be like a once in a lifetime thing when I ordered the 4, but that night, because it came up late as well. It came up like 11 p.m. or something. So my partner was already asleep.
That's the best time to buy fish.
Yeah, well, yeah. I ended up sending $880 to this guy on Facebook to get them. But I thought I'd always regret it if it never came up again. And I had to go collect them from the airport. But as soon as I sent that, I was like, "What have I done?" I was just laying there, like eyes wide awake for like 2 hours, just in silence. Like, what? How am I gonna negotiate this one? But it was all good. I didn't really face any consequences, so that was good.
Nice. I'm sure there's been people that have done less and have gotten worse repercussions.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so have you got any breeding projects in the pipelines, or any other than you wanted to do a few tests and stuff like that? Have you got any other any projects coming through that you've got planned that you haven't quite got underway yet or began recording?
No, not yet. Well, one that I started recording but accidentally broke it. I've got a test for different methods of like gauging the temperature of aquariums, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I don't know how accurate any of them are. So also it's interesting for myself. So I've got a bunch of different things lined up to test different aquariums and that sort of thing. I am interested in that. Like I'm definitely not a scientist, but I just think like at sort of basic hobbyist level, like it's not often that somebody has like 7 or 8 or 10 spare aquariums that they can sort of line up consistently and test different things. So I feel like that's what I should do as a bit of a service to, lend my aquariums. Like I did it for root tabs, and I did it for nano lights, where I lined up all of these Kmart tanks and I put black dividers and all that, and then just let it run for like 2 months or 3 months and see how each light performed, see how each root tab performed, stuff like that. I found it really interesting, and the comments, like, it's not like a video that's like going to really be that searchable or anything like that, but what it seems like is that people who do find it really appreciate kind of the effort. So it seems like
I think I've watched your root tab video several times actually.
Yeah, even then there's definitely ways I'd do it differently. Like where did they go? Oh yeah, I got this yesterday. Got some aquarium co-op root tabs now, so I'll have to include that in the next one.
Yeah,
I think that's why he sent them to me as a subtle, like, get them in there.
Do something. Yeah. So just on your root tab video, what was your overall winner of that?
Sea-Chem root tabs.
Yep.
Sea-Chem. It was quite different as well. Like the Sea-Chem clearly did well with plants that just died off entirely in other tanks, like Ludwigia rubin, which traditionally I do find it a bit of a difficult plant to grow. Or I get like with Ludwigia rubin, I get like one really long stem that's really strong and really nice, and then I'll cut it to try and propagate it. I'll cut it like directly below a feeder root, plant it, and then they both will just do terribly. Like one might have like a really long stalk and then like 3 petals at the top, and the other one will just die probably. So I don't know what the go is. I can only grow Ludwigia rubin once.
Yeah. All right. So you've obviously had a lot of different setups throughout your time in keeping fish and doing YouTube. Is there any particular setups that you've enjoyed more than the others that you've done?
Yeah, the one that I really enjoy at the moment is my can't really see it. If you go full screen, it's over there, but I don't know to tell you how to run your show. There you go. That one right there. It is so effortless. Like when I first set it up, like 6 months or so, Terrible. It was algae all over the place. But now it's just you can't even see the fish through the plants really. And I get in there and I'll pull out like a whole bucket of trimmings like every couple of weeks. It's overdue for it now, but just crazy. Like I don't understand how it goes so well when I really don't do that much. Like it does get CO2 into it, and it does have a very very good light on it. It's a weak aqua light, which I just found randomly on Gumtree one day. So yeah, but that's my favorite one at the moment. Sort of Dutch style, plants everywhere. No hardscape, no need for it, and it's just fun.
I think there's something to be said about a tank that you kind of just don't do anything with.
Yeah,
it just builds its own little ecosystem, and it becomes, this is its body of water, and this is what it is, and it just sort of flourishes within what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's my sort of better grow out. So I find that the plants really help to spread the bedders out. And I mean, really, at this stage, they're all adults, so they still don't really murder each other or anything like that, which is nice.
That's a good start.
Yeah, it probably helps they can't see each other.
Yeah. So when you're setting up in your aquarium for a group of fish, do you match the parameters, or do you aim to create like a biotype sort of setup for them, or how do you begin your process of setting up a new tank and getting new fish into it?
My thinking is pretty simple. If they're from hard water, I put a piece of limestone in there. If they're from soft water, I do nothing. That's pretty much it. Mainly, like, I have gone through all that thing of like having 1,000 different buffers, 1,000 different things, but I just find that, I guess since my tap water is pretty good, pretty adaptable, like it's not a big deal, but yeah, I mean, for some of the Tanganyikans that really want that sort of pH into the 8s, then I do put some buffer in there occasionally just to assist the limestone along. But I'm not my poor old API test kit gets a bit dusty. I probably should use it a bit more often. But so long as my philosophy is, so long as the fish are in good color, showing good activity, then I don't really get too concerned about it.
You're doing it right.
Yeah.
You just triggered my thoughts talking about Tanganyikans. You've got a few Tanganyikans tucked around in your fish room, don't you?
Yeah. I've got Maltese, Ocellatus golds, Cordopunctatus, Julidochromous, Dickfeldi, and what are the other ones? Transcriptus. Yeah, I quite like Tanganyikans, which
cool, eh?
Yeah, especially the behavior.
Yeah, you get a different shape to what you'd consider like a normal fish, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of unique and quirky, and you get a nice bit of activity out of them as well.
And a while ago, when I first started finding Tanganyikans, I was really on the hunt for things that would colony breed. Because it's not really a topic that people usually sort of collate into a list. It's not that hard it's not that easy to find a bunch of fish that will just make more fish in the tank without any effort. But I've been really pleased the transcriptors are that. So they just keep having generations. But it's not overwhelming. It's not like, guppies or platies or whatever. It's like maybe 2 or 3 might be born every couple of weeks or whatever. And it's just really enjoyable. Same with the Shelleys. Obviously, they do that sort of thing, the same thing. But I just enjoy that aspect of it too. Like just, again, the ecosystem sort of thing. Like if they're just sort of having new babies at their own will and you don't have to get involved. I think the more hands-off you are, the more enjoyable things can be until they're so hands-off that you just never even look in the tank again. So, yeah.
They used to be over here. I don't think they are anymore, but the Brachardi Daffodoli, or however you pronounce it. I'd love to get my hands on some of them. I quite like the standard Brachardi. But just that extra yellow flash through them, I think, is quite a phenomenal fish. Again, they colony breed really nicely, and they just get a bit of tooth action going on. I think they're really cool fish.
I agree. They are, especially if you are familiar with sort of the princess cichlids or the normal Brachardi. Then you see a yellow version, and you're like, oh, okay, now we're talking, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
One of the species I did have, but they were the most brutal things ever, was Neoleptologus tretocephalus. don't know if
Yeah.
you've heard. They're like a little frontosa, but without the sort of hump, and they were so cool. I love them, but brutal fish.
Absolutely psychopaths.
Yeah,
I agree. They're really nice looking fish, but man, they can wallop themselves.
yeah. It's always the pretty ones.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I'll definitely filter more Tanganyikans through and as things go. Like even the most recent time I dropped fish at the fish store, I was like, okay, I need to get rid of one of these tanks, and it came down to the Cordopunks or the gold ocellatus. I'm like, I gotta move on one of these species, and in the end, I sold off half of each, so it didn't really help me at all. But yeah, eventually I'll probably move in some brevis sunspots. I quite like those as well. Yeah, different type of ones. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the gold ocellatus. I think they're beautiful, stunning fish and so much character. It's not funny. Again, pretty aggressive to each other.
Yeah.
Man, they're cool little fish.
For sure. Yeah, so I just litter the whole bottom with escargot shells and just let them do their thing.
Yeah. I once had the shelly tank. From memory, it was 1 by 1, but it was only about 200 high or something like that. And again, it was just a massive flat footprint for them. Just chuck them in a whole bunch of shells and let them do their thing. It was so much fun to watch them. It was just above eye level, so I could look down on them or through the front. Man, it was cool.
That is awesome. Yeah. I don't know why they're not more popular. Like they should be. Like especially Maltese. They're not difficult to breed. Like once you have Maltese, you always have Maltese, as far as I'm concerned. Like I don't know why they're not in every store, but I guess because they're not the most flashy things ever. Like if you're new to the hobby, you're definitely going to pick like a neon tetra. Although the eyes are pretty nice, but yeah, I guess that's probably what holds them back. Maybe.
Yeah, possible.
We'll have to take them back to the gene pool and inject some, bright red or something into them, and then they'll be a staple.
Could also be the African cichlids. Stay away from African cichlids when you're learning type of mindset. I know that's quite a strong theme for people beginning. Don't get cichlids. They're going to destroy your fish and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, as long as you're catering for those fish properly, you're generally speaking going to be okay. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rules, but if you're putting those fish in the proper requirements set up, then you're normally good to go. So
yeah, that's true. I remember when I picked up my first yellow labs and Demisoni for a tank, that I was scared as after getting all these warnings up. But yeah, it's fine.
So running a fish room like yours and having so many different setups, it must be pretty hard not to get attached to fish. You've obviously just touched on you went to try and get rid of some of your colonies, and all you did is thin them out. Is that quite a common theme? Once they're in your fish room, they're in your fish room pretty much?
Yeah, it definitely is. In front of me here, I've got a 4x2x2, and anything that's kind of community friendly that I'm not actively trying to breed sort of goes in there. So I am a big fan of just a big community tank with all of the sort of old projects, or I don't know. It's probably not a very nice way to describe these fish, but it's still quite enjoyable. It is different, I guess. It's a different experience seeing them in a community tank that you just enjoy for what it is, rather than doing the here's Johnny up to the tank like breed. So that's good, but certainly things like the Cordopunks and the ocellatus golds, they can't go into a tank like that. So those, they pretty much just kind of, they're a permanent fixture until until one of the generations breaks down or something like that, or disaster strike. Although I don't really have heaters in any of the tanks now, so disaster doesn't often strike.
How much room have you got for more aquariums in your fish room? Are you maxed out, or you still got plenty of growth available?
I could definitely squeeze some more in. Like for me, it's just I've kind of set it up a bit more like a studio, like a place that, like with the old fish room before we moved in here, it was like that. It was like sort of everybody shuffled down in a single file, because otherwise, we won't be able to get out of here. But it just kind of felt a bit cluttered. When you can't walk around in a straight line, I feel like it was a bit overkill. So I've just kind of gone for comfort a bit in this fishery. Might change, but even now I've got 50 aquariums, I think, and our baby is due in September, so I'll probably try and bring that down to 35 maybe by that time. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I've been talking about it for long enough, and I haven't started yet.
So when you say go down to 35, you mean go up to 65?
Yeah, maybe. Although actually, I made a start last night. I drained that tank down halfway, so that kind of counts, doesn't
it? Half the water volume. How many different species of fish do you think you currently have on hand?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question. Well, if I got 50 tanks, most of them are species only, and I don't really double up. I don't know, maybe 100, maybe. Yeah, probably 100. It adds up quick. Like, I remember when I was into my first sort of year of the hobby, I had a spreadsheet of all the fish that I've successfully bred, and I didn't bother putting like purple guppies and dragon guppies. I just put guppies. And it was way over 50 species, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like I thought it'd be like 10, but when you start writing them out, like things add up pretty quick. Like especially if you got like platies, guppies, cories, bristlenose, shrimp. You know, it's kind of, you can very quickly be surprised by how many different things you've sort of brought in and out. And I'm not immune either. Like a lot of people think like, oh, this guy here, he's on YouTube. Like, oh, he must not really have the same problems that we do. But I'm not immune. I've definitely got species that I've had failures with, or that I haven't managed to breed, or, you know, all those sorts of things. Like I'm still just a normal hobbyist. So just because I do some videos that sort of talk about care for certain fish, that doesn't mean that I know how to care for everything.
Okay. What's one species that you tried for a very long time to crack and to spawn, and eventually you got there, or even that you haven't got there? Has it been one of those things that you've just tried and cracked it one day, or didn't? Or
German blue rams immediately. Right. I can't do it. I don't know why. They just don't like me. I've probably kept like 20 or 30 German blue rams at this point in time, and I've never bred them. I still haven't. I thought I was going to. I was getting some behavior around this kind of cave setup. I did the master breeder Dean sort of setup where you have like a broken terracotta pot as kind of like a shield on a plate. I thought that might work, but no, I still haven't cracked the code. And then I gave up the other day. I put them in with the discus. So yeah, I've given up now. But I'm
curious, for your breeding stock for them, what age to what point did you buy them? Were you buying them from a shop and they're already semi-developed, trying to pick male and females, or were you buying really, really young ones and letting them grow out, or have you sort of tried a bit of both?
Yeah, tried a bit of both. I bought young ones online from All Fish to You, which have really good stock historically, and they did send me some the nicest ones I've ever seen, really. But I've also bought I've definitely bought established ones from chain stores, established ones from mum and pops, or mum and pop, mum and dad sort of fish shops, and I don't know why. I know early days it was definitely I wasn't keeping them hot enough, and they were just sort of wasted away. But I did that, and then I don't know what it is. One day I'll pick it back up again, but just for now, I still like them a lot. I think it's a bit of it's a bit of the challenge, like the sort of it sort of makes you want to try a bit harder, personally.
I was speaking to one of my customers who's spawned multiple varieties of rams, and he said the only time he's had really good success is if he's bought them when they were young, just bought a group of 10 when they're only a few months old and let them grow up, because apparently after a certain age they just don't reproduce, or they won't reproduce of any sort of quantity. He said, you get them young, let them sort of spawn a couple times, and then begin to really try and get them going. That's how you actually get them to work. Whether or not it's true, or whether or not that's just his experience on them, I'm not 100% sure. But
because it sounds like some people, they either just bring them home and they spawn the next day, or other people just have an experience like mine.
Yeah. Very much hit or miss.
The most recent ones I got, was a group of 6 young ones. and they're definitely fully grown now. I've had them probably 2 years now. But yeah, I don't know. Never any eggs. Well, not that I've seen anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one of those fish for you, I guess.
Yep. Oh, that's all right. Well, I'll crack the code one day.
What about, has there been a fish that is meant to be very hard to spawn and reproduce that you've just gone like that with?
Potentially. It's hard to know off the top of my head. What are the... Yeah, nothing's springing to mind right now, but yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. Yeah.
There's obviously there's quite a lot of talk, at least with the people that I speak to. It's not so much spawning the fish; it's raising the fry that can be the difficult stage. Same sort of question: is there groups of fry that you have managed to get to 10 days and have all gone belly up and sort of cracked the code for them, or is it kind of been smooth sailing with most things, or do you struggle with some things of others?
I definitely attribute all the live feeds that I keep to my success there. I'm a big fan of live cultures. Like, got vinegar eels over here, microworms over there, grindle worms, black worms. I hatch baby brine shrimp every single day. So that's definitely key. And also, like, I just don't even really try prepare. Like, I don't even try like pellets or sort of powder foods until like a week or so later, because I feel like that's where people are running into issues, is where they'll put some powder food and some of the fry just won't even naturally sort of attack that because it's not moving. And then that will go down to the bottom, and then it will either half the fish probably aren't even eating it, or the water quality is getting quite poor. So I'm also a big overfeeder as well. So I feel like the live foods help me in that aspect as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have to agree. I think live food is key, particularly with fry, but fish in general, live food is a massive bonus. And I think the more people that get into feeding live food, the healthier their animals they keep are going to be, the more colours they're going to show off, more vibrancy, and the more chance you're going to get to spawn them if that's what your goal is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and for the most part, it's really simple. Like, I don't have to do a lot to keep these cultures alive. Like, it's maybe like a day a month I go through and refresh some of them, but that's about it.
Yeah, microworms and whiteworms are very simple.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of work to them for a lot of reward you get out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The microworms especially are one of the most versatile foods I've found so far. Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Well, that comes to the end of the actual questions that I had allocated for you. We've just had someone say they used to be able to breed their rams at 25 degrees. So
yeah, that's the dream.
Obviously, if there's any other questions that people want to ask, then please fire away. But I tend to try and end these interviews with a very quick school of 6 questions.
Yes, I have seen this.
Yeah, sweet, short, fire, nice and simple. So if you could be a superhero, which one would it be?
Oh, Superman, for sure.
Superman.
Laser vision, flight. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, fair cool. If you're flipping a coin, heads or tails?
Heads. Always heads. Use your head.
Okay.
I know tails never fails, but heads.
Clearly it does for you. What have you got in your cup that you've been drinking on all day? Is it hot coffee or tea or coffee?
It is a hot coffee, but I at the start of every week I make a big batch of cold brew. So it's a cold brew that I heat up because I don't like to drink it cold.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, cold coffee is fairly average.
Yeah, it's just good because then I can quietly make it when I'm leaving in the dark, sort of thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Are we alone in the universe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I know that there's so many expanses of the universe, but if you have a look at all of the factors that needed to be in place for our planet to have life, the chances of those all happening again, I don't know if that's the case. Or even if we aren't, I doubt we'll ever see anything different.
Yep. Someone from the floor has just asked if you could send some CPD eggs to Nelson. Please don't do that. It's illegal. But I did find it a little bit amusing at the same time. So, nano aquarium or a monster aquarium, which one would you take first? Space is an issue. Money's an issue. Which one are you going for?
Is it a case of like there's a gun to my head and I can only keep one for my whole life, or is it like I can get other ones after?
You can run it in any which way you normally would. So if you're prone to buying lots of aquariums, you can buy lots afterwards. If you reckon this aquarium is going to be the one that lasts you for the next 7 years, you can have it for 7 years.
I do think, like, in the twilight of my hobby, I'm going to have one huge aquarium that's going to be planted and beautiful. And that way I can still scratch that itch of collectoritis, so long as it'll work in the community tank. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So we'll go monster aquarium.
All right. And the last question that I have, what is your unicorn fish?
Probably a Fahaka puffer.
Yeah, fair. Are they not available over there or just hard to get hold of?
I know one person who had two once, and I think he paid about $1,500 each. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the goal. It would be Mabu puffer. I like their look a lot better, but I just don't think I could suitably house one.
Yeah, fair. Cool. Well, that's all that I've got for you. So thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone in the chat. Appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Have a good one, team. Happy fish keeping. Catch you later. Thank you very much.